Good afternoon. We have a snowy day here, and as we are gathering on this January 10th, I'm here to celebrate one of three early church patriarchs. These patriarch means sort of father of the church, very important leaders in the church. Um, and this one is from the fourth century. The name is Basil the Great. He lived from 330 to they say January 1st, 379. He's a bishop of a place called Caesarea, which is located in present day Israel and east along the Mediterranean coast there. And this is the eastern part of the church, so he's very much influenced by Greek and by Eastern ways of thinking. We, of course, are much more influenced by the Western and Roman tradition. He's bishop of Caesarea and comes from a family of people who are very religious and involved with the church, and there are other saints in his family. The thing which Basil the Great is so known for is in becoming the Bishop of Caesarea, trying to take to task a problem that they had that we possibly didn't in our era. We don't really deal much with. The thing that he had to deal with was something called Arianism. We call it a heresy. Let me explain. Let me give you a thumbnail idea about what Arianism was about. Now, you have to keep in mind that the people of his time grew up in Greek and in pagan cultures which had many different gods. And along with that, gods were gods and people were people, and you simply didn't mix the two. Okay, and so what he tried to stamp out is this idea that Jesus was maybe God's son. He was a created human being by God. God created him, and the problem is what do you do after you create something? Okay, but it was a problem because then we have this as we think about the Trinity. Jesus has always been. Jesus and the Holy Spirit and God have always coexisted together. Jesus was there at the beginning and even before the beginning of Genesis. And Jesus, of course, existed life with the Father until he comes again to usher in a time when we will all be as well one together with the Father. Arianism challenged this idea, and it confused and clouded people as they tried to understand, well, what did Jesus really do then? How did he fit in with all this? Was there a hierarchy of God up here and then Jesus here? And then, the Holy Spirit came after that. And which, if you look in their society and the way they thought, there was powers up here, and then there's middle powers, and then there were people who were less powerful. It's a very tempting way to think about this. And he tried to work together, not only with the Eastern Church, but with the Western Roman Church to settle this matter. And it might seem like it's a small matter until you start thinking about how we just assume Jesus is the Son of God, but he's not something lower. He's both God and both human. And if he's both God, that means he's around forever. He's there when God creates, and he's there when everything comes in. That if you don't have that, you have this sort of what we'll call a subordinate being. Might seem like a small point, but it's important for us as we come to think of Jesus being not only just like us, but also having the power to achieve the salvation of the whole world. Only God's power can do that because Jesus is one with God and not somebody just created for the purpose of walking around and teaching and being with us. Well, I hope that you learned a little bit here about this person. We don't say much about Basil, and you would know more about him if you were Eastern Orthodox. But the idea of who Jesus is something that we have studied, and the church has studied and refined and thought about and talked about for